The UFC has a major problem, and fortunately for them and for you, I am here to fix it. And UFC officials and Dana White, once you take my advice, the least you can do is send me some free tickets or several $1,000,000, whatever you have lying around. The problem is UFC pay-per-views should not be starting at 10 p.m. East Coast time in the US. We just saw UFC 304 where Leon Edwards lost his title to Belal Muhammad, a card that took place in Manchester, England and started at 3 a.m. local time in Manchester so that it could still start at 10 p.m. here on the East Coast. Leon even said that the fight start time and the timing all week contributed to his poor performance. Also, selfishly, I don't want to be awake until 2 in the morning watching fights. I love MMA, I watch everything, but it would be nice not to be a zombie all Sunday morning because I was up till the wee hours of the morning watching the UFC. Here's the solution. All UFC pay-per-views should start at 8 p.m. Eastern time in the US. That way I'm going to bed at like midnight, which is way better, but also let's look at some of the other factors. Clearly the US market is the priority for the UFC. This is evidenced by the fact that they just had fighters fighting at 3 in the morning so as to maintain the same broadcast time in the US. I'd argue that the local time of the event needs to be a factor ahead of the broadcast time because that's how we get the best fights. Once you have the local time sorted, then you can worry about the broadcast times in the US and Brazil and Australia and the European market, which seems to be the focus for the UFC. I'm sorry, Africa and Asia, your beef was not with me, your beef is with the UFC because they clearly don't care as much about your fandom. For fights that happen in the US or in Brazil, starting at 8 p.m. on the East Coast in the US means 9 p.m. for Rio, it means 8 a.m. on Sunday for Perth, and it means 10 a.m. for Sydney. All solid times. The UK is still the odd man out because the card would start for them at 1 a.m., but considering right now cards start for them at 3 a.m., I'm pretty sure they would happily take those extra 2 hours. But the best part is you can also do it in reverse. Are you having an Australia card in Perth or in Sydney? You can start it at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. local time, and then it still works out to be 9 p.m. broadcast time in Brazil, 8 p.m. broadcast time on the East Coast in the US, 5 p.m. broadcast time on the West Coast in the US. The 1 or maybe 2 times that the UFC goes to the UK each year, you can have them start at 10 p.m. local time so the fighters are fighting at a time that actually makes sense. Not 3 a.m., 10 p.m. local time. It is absolutely ridiculous to have a defending UFC champion bothered by the start time of a fight so much that it affects their performance. And as fans, we should want to see fighters fighting the best possible fights. You don't fight the best possible fight when you have to get to the arena at 3 or 4 in the morning to then fight close to 6 in the morning. A 10 p.m. local time start for a UK card means that here on the East Coast in the US, the card starts at 5. On the West Coast in the US, it starts at 2. And I'm not too worried about the UFC losing viewers for an afternoon start time because it works pretty well for the NFL, which is the most watched sporting event in the country. So I think afternoon starts would be fine once or twice a year. It might even be a fun novelty. That does make European cards a little tough for our Australian friends. That means 7 a.m. on the East Coast and 5 a.m. on the West Coast. But considering the fans in the UK have to wake up for almost every card at 3 in the morning, I think our Aussie friends can do us a favor and just start their day a little early, maybe once, maybe twice a year. Let me know what you think in the comments. What times should cards start? Am I just being selfish because I don't want to stay up late, or would it be better for everyone to start the fights a little bit earlier? I'm interested to hear what you guys all think in the comments. Let me know, and I will see you in the next video.